This is supposed to be Deadpool.
Deadpool is easily one of the most popular and beloved characters in Marvel, with his 2 live-action movies ranking in the top 5 highest-grossing R-rated movies of all time.
But there's one movie that portrayed Deadpool so poorly, it put his whole franchise in jeopardy.
Hello everyone, I am Detective Mio.
And I'm Inspector Keto, and today we'll be investigating the first live-action depiction of Deadpool.
Because before we got this, we got this.
As you may know, Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, is a Marvel Comics character, and Ryan Reynolds has been trying to get a live-action adaptation made for quite a while. In fact, by the time Deadpool was finally released in theaters, in 2016, Reynolds would have spent 11 years trying to get this movie made and released.
According to a Collider article, Ryan Reynolds isn't a huge comic book fan in general, but he did read the Deadpool comics back in the 90s.
I wouldn't say that I'm a comic book aficionado, but definitely this character I've always really responded to.
He was familiar with the character and driven to make a movie adaptation with a particular vision as to how the character should be realized on screen.
Unfortunately, Fox Studios would not see eye to mask eye hole with Reynolds and shut down any attempt by him to make a Deadpool movie.
At that time, in the early 2000s, the superhero craze was just starting to build, so the studio executives probably weren't very confident that an R-rated X-Men spin-off movie about a wisecracking cancer ninja would do well. This is despite the fact that the character has a rather large fan base in the Marvel community.
Eventually, an offer came along when Fox executives finally found the perfect project for Deadpool: X-Men Origins Wolverine!
This was going to be an origin story for the character of Logan, taking place before the events of X-Men. Of course, these ideas were already explored in X2, but now we get them in more detail with CGI claws.
This was a good time to introduce the character Deadpool to the X-Men universe, as he and Wolverine have a history in the Weapon X program. The catch was that Origins changes canon, shall we say. More on that later. But Reynolds saw the story that they had in mind and wasn't super happy with the writer's interpretation of Deadpool. But the Fox executives were like, "Take it or leave it, sonny boy. If you don't take it, we'll get somebody else." And Reynolds really wanted a standalone movie to be in the cards, so he compromised and took the role.
Big mistake!
So, Ryan Reynolds was finally given the role of Wade Wilson. Unfortunately, what they didn't give him was a script. This is because of the writer strikes that happened around that time and screwed everything up. The studio had farted out a super quick script before the writer strike, resulting in a script that would have been better if they just wrote IDK LOL on a napkin.
These writer strikes would also affect other movies like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Reynolds had to write his own dialogue since the script didn't give any specific lines for Wade Wilson, just something like, he walks in and says some quips.
Because of the rushed script, the filmmakers had to go back and shoot new material since things about the story changed after they finished shooting the film. All that said, it's rumored that they started shooting before the script was completed, which raises a whole lot of questions.
Mr. Reynolds had a few interviews about the film and his character. In one interview conducted by Collider, Reynolds didn't really call this version of Wade Wilson quote-unquote Deadpool, and stated that it wasn't a comic-accurate version of the character. In general, he didn't seem very happy about any of it.
I think it's exciting. I mean, just to touch on the changes that they made for Wolverine, it's easy to be frustrated about them for me, but it's also, I understand why they're made, and I understand. My dream would be to do an absolutely 100% faithful Deadpool adaptation straight out of the comic books.
If there wasn't enough drama, a pre-VFX version of the film leaked on the internet and was downloaded millions of times, and people were not happy with the many things in the movie, one of which was the portrayal of Deadpool and his ending. So one of the reshoots included changing the ending of the movie and the fate of Deadpool. Reynolds predicted the reaction to the original ending, and I'm sure he felt very, very smug.
In order to explain how this movie almost ruined Deadpool, you're going to have to understand the movie itself. So, we're going to describe the events of the film to you, and there's nothing I can really say to prepare you for what you're about to hear.
So hold on to your butts.
The movie starts off with a young boy named Jimmy sick in a bed, while another boy named Victor is trimming his freakish nails. According to a rather blunt Victor, Jimmy is always sick.
Always sick. You don't say.
Jimmy's dad comes in to see how Jimmy is doing. Blah blah blah. Victor's drunk dad arrives and harasses Jimmy's mother, and Jimmy's dad goes to take care of the issue. Not long after he leaves, Jimmy hears a gunshot and runs to see his father as dead as our YouTube channel.
Victor's dad says that Jimmy deserves to know the truth, but before any productive communication can be established, Jimmy grows weird bone claws, screams at the sky, and charges forward and skewers the man like a shish kebab.
But before he dies, Victor's dad tells Jimmy that he's Jimmy's father, making Victor and Jimmy brothers, or half-brothers, either one. This would mean a lot more if we knew what Victor and Jimmy's relationship was before this point, but I digress.
Jimmy runs away, but Victor catches up with him and says that the two of them have to stick together.
You have to be hard now. Hard so nothing can ever touch us.
Okay.
And they do! And it is! We then see the two boys become men and fight in a bunch of wars. It seems like there was a lot of work put into these scenes, despite being extremely short and not necessary. Regardless, many fans say that Jimmy and Victor fighting in those wars would have made for a better movie.
The beginning with young Jimmy, who we all know as Logan obviously, is extremely confusing. It makes a little more sense when you read the wiki, assuming of course that's accurate, but it's still not a great start, especially in terms of writing. All is going well as they're fighting in multiple wars until they go to the Vietnam War, and then Victor gets a little bit grapey and grabs some random woman.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
A soldier tries to stop him, but Victor politely knocks him into next week. Victor steps up to help his bro, but they're surrounded, and shortly after that, they're executed.
But however, they are mutants! So, their healing abilities allow them to survive, and they are approached by a guy called Stryker, who's putting together a team.
So that's it? What, we some kind of...
Team X.
And now they're part of Team X and are going on a mission in Nigeria.
Team X consists of James and Victor, Fred Dukes, also known as the Blob later in the movie, Chris Bradley, who can control technology, Agent Zero, who has abilities, and John Wraith, who can teleport, and last but not least, Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, who is criticized for talking too much.
While on the mission, we see everyone use their powers.
Great. Stuck in an elevator with 5 guys on a high-protein diet.
Oh, Wade.
Dreams really do come true.
So just shut it. God, you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake.
Wade's powers are enhanced reflexes and agility, I think, and he's really good at dual-wielding swords. According to Stryker, Wade would be the perfect soldier if it wasn't for his loose lips.
You didn't have that mouth on you, Wade. You'd be the perfect soldier.
Strangely enough, despite Deadpool being one of the largest complaints about this movie, he doesn't actually pop up that often.
He appears in a minor role in the beginning and a major role in the end, and it's this major role that really irked people.
Now, I'm really mad.
There's a lot that happens between Deadpool's first appearance and his last appearance, so we're just gonna kind of skim through that and give you the essential deets.
Jimmy ends up leaving Team X and changes his name to Logan. 6 years pass and he's in a relationship with a woman named Kayla. But Victor, who is Sabretooth, kills her, womp womp, and Logan wants Victor dead.
That guy Stryker from earlier pops up again in Logan's life and offers to make him stronger by giving him an indestructible adamantium skeleton. But after the procedure, Logan finds out that Stryker will betray him and he runs away, naked.
Logan, after killing some people and other people dying of stupidity, finally gets to where Stryker is.
Where's Victor? The Stryker on the island. They run it together.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Only to find his girlfriend there, alive and well. Dun dun dun!
Flat out deceived.
Logan has been duped multiple times and he gets sad and leaves, not even bothering to try to kill Sabretooth or Stryker.
Then the real crap happens and Logan returns to rescue his girlfriend and fight Sabretooth. Rescue some captured mutants that appeared earlier. Before all the good guys can escape, they're confronted by none other than Deadpool.
I needed your powers for the pool.
What?
The mutant killer. The Deadpool.
Deadpool is Wade Wilson, but he may or may not have been killed.
We're not exactly sure.
Despite being the perfect soldier, Stryker and Sabretooth have been going around capturing mutants and copying their powers in an unspecified manner, and then transferring those powers into Wade's body, giving them the powers of regeneration, impact beams, teleportation, and freaking swords in his arms.
He's controlled via a computer operated by Stryker, and there are a lot of questions to ask, but we'll go over that later. Maybe, if I remember.
Wolverine fights Deadpool and doesn't fare very well. Sabretooth shows up to help, and he fares even worse.
Eventually, Logan gets a jump on Deadpool and cuts his head off in Minecraft. Some other stuff happens, like Wolverine losing his memory by getting shot in the head by an adamantium bullet, but that's not important for the subject of the video.
In a post-credit scene, Deadpool is not dead, and he has his mouth back, and he tells the audience, shh. finish, whatever that means. It turns out that this ending was added after principal photography was done, and that pre-VFX version of the film leaked on the internet. People were not happy about Deadpool being dead at the end because they like the characters. Fox probably panicked and then added this scene at the end to try to placate the fans, and the whole shh comment probably was just confirming that Ryan Reynolds had an NDA. Let's review the film. How about that story?
The story, for the most part, is a giant mess. The movie has about 3 different beginnings, with the opening sequence being the weirdest one. Characters like Cyclops and John Wraith and Gambit don't play a very important role in the story. They're just more like fan service, I guess. And a question that forever will be on my mind is, why is Will.i.am here?
Logan meets a nice old couple who are almost immediately killed in Minecraft, and the only thing they accomplish is giving Wolverine a motorcycle and a jacket. He loses both of these items, so this whole storyline does not tie into the first X-Men movie at all.
Now think about it, the whole scene where Wolverine fights Zero makes zero sense.
Haha, I see what you did there.
Haha, I'm glad you liked it. Anyway, after they make Wolverine indestructible, which they clearly state, Agent Zero, whose powers are superhuman accuracy, agility, speed, reflexes, and inoderacy, meaning Wolverine can't smell him, is sent out to kill Wolverine. Despite using a sniper rifle he didn't need, Wolverine ends up killing Zero, and literally seconds after that scene ends, Stryker whips out a pistol that can be loaded with adamantium bullets. That's the only thing that can take down Wolverine. Why wasn't Zero given the gun?
Who knows? But let's talk about the acting. Well, the acting is okay for the most part. A couple of people stand out as not being so good, but it's mainly direction of the movie that sucks. How about we talk about them special effects?
The special effects are one of the more unforgivable sins in the movie. Notable moments of terrible CGI and green screen include Wolverine's claws somehow looking worse than they did in the first movie, painful green screen during the Agent Zero fight and the final fight, and whatever went wrong with CGI Professor X. And that green screen is awful. But let's move on to the topic of the video, Deadpool.
Deadpool is very bad, no good. Costume-wise, I do see what they were going for, kinda, with the eyes and the sewn-up mouth kind of representing the mask, but it looks really lame.
There's a video that talks about the different concept art, and it seems like the artist genuinely tried to pay homage to Deadpool's original comic book design, but the big studios wanted a more natural and toned-down design. For a better look at the concept art, either check out the book, or check out this video by Warping Fist. Link in the description.
The character overall I would describe as an abomination of a thought, of an explanation of who Deadpool is from the comics.
The first version of Wade Wilson is something close to what you'd expect, but notably watered down to fit the tone of the movie. Ryan Reynolds does an admirable job of writing and performing Wade's dialogue at the beginning of the movie.
And later on, despite playing a character that makes absolutely no sense, Scott Adkins does a great stunt performance.
Now, while people were probably happier with Deadpool not being dead at the end, I have no clue what Fox Studios was going to do with the character in the future movies, and I don't think they had any clue either.
How did the audience receive this movie?
The audience did not like it, and neither did the critics. The IMDb scores and the Rotten Tomatoes scores are pretty abysmal.
I've seen worse.
Where?
You don't want to know.
Ryan Reynolds, as we saw earlier, was basically depressed in interviews, and it made it clear that he was not liking the direction they took with the character. But later on, after the film had released, he made it even more clear that he did not like that version, or perversion, of Deadpool. Things were apparently so bad that he left for DC for a hot second to be Green Lantern. And as we know, that film was highly successful.
You don't want to know.
The strangest thing about this movie was its lack of impact on the X-Men lore. The Logan Victor brother storyline was weirdly already concluded in a comic book prelude to X2, and a lot of Wolverine's origins are alluded to in X2 itself.
Even more odd, that storyline never pops up again in future movies, or the solo Wolverine movies. And almost none of the characters introduced in this movie, like Gambit, ever pop up again in any way related to this movie.
So in the end, it really kinda just doesn't matter. So Origins flopped. How did we get Deadpool?
Well, despite being in the highly successful and critically acclaimed Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds eventually went back to trying to get a Deadpool movie made at Fox. Superhero movies in the 2010s really started to pick up, and movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, based on little-known and funny, sort of edgy type characters, seemed like they were doing well.
Regardless, the people over at Fox still were not sold on Deadpool. Eventually, they did give Reynolds and director Tim Miller the clearance to make their movie, but with as little money as humanly possible. The thing that really pushed the studio to give them the green light was the reception to leaked Deadpool test footage of Reynolds' idea for the character.
This happened on the last day of San Diego Comic-Con 2014, and the reception for the fans, when they saw the video online, was insanely positive. According to Reynolds, they had the movie greenlit within 24 hours of the leak. And man, does Fox really need to find the source of these leaks.
In spite of the teeny-tiny $58 million budget, Deadpool, once released in 2016, would go on to be a smash hit and become the highest-grossing R-rated movie ever until it was overtaken by its sequel, Deadpool 2, in 2018.
That first movie grossed $782 million, big bucks, more than double of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
In case it wasn't super duper clear, that Reynolds didn't like this version of Deadpool. The filmmakers put in a bit at the end of Deadpool 2 of the modern Wade Wilson killing the weird origins version. He also talked to Wolverine about taking back up the claws in the future, which is some insanely advanced foreshadowing for what would be the third Deadpool movie.
It's been 6 years since then, and somehow they actually got Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. Now that's what I call confidence.
And now Wolverine and Deadpool are back together again. Yippee! This time it's Wolverine in Deadpool's movie.
Let's hope it goes better this time. If this one flops like the first time, I guess it just means that this duo is cursed or something.
But that's the end of this video. Hopefully, if you didn't know about this version of Deadpool, you've been educated. And if you already did know about this version of Deadpool, you learned something new. If you didn't learn anything new, hopefully you enjoyed the video.
And if you did enjoy the video, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more, because this channel is dead and we're trying to revive it and bring it back to life, kind of like Deadpool. Hey, that worked out pretty well. If you want to see another video, click this video over here, where we review every single movie written by the writers of that horrible superhero movie, Morbius.
If you want something different, watch this one over here. It's something different.
But until we see you there, he's Inspector Keto.
And he is Detective Mio. And we hope that you have a blessed day.
Bye!